happy to be here. What awful dreams come true. Space on the moon, just last lagoons. What awful's watching you.
It's not a crime to enjoy sucking little boys' cocks. Okay.
Yeah! All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Pod Awful. I'm your host, Jesse P.S., and with me, as always, is my co-host, Vito Giswaldi. Vito.
Glad to be here.
Of course.
Glad to be here.
Happy to be here. And Vito, you, of course, not only are you always the co-host of Pod Awful, but you co-host another show too, right?
Yeah, it's called Big Bobby Big Balls. Every week we talk about the best testicles.
All right, and who's got them this week?
There's a porn actor named Timmy Tom Traveler.
Okay,
and he's a dapper fellow. He's not a big guy. You'd think he'd have regular sized testicles, but I got to tell you, he's got 2 grapefruits between the legs.
Wow, this is the stuff. This is the type of stuff they teach you over at the UCB. So I would.
Do you think I was in UCB?
No, but I know a guy who was at UCB. A guy named Dick.
A lot of. I think Will Ferrell was UCB.
Will Ferrell was not at UCB. That was well
what
after.
What are you typing?
Will Ferrell.
He was at UCB. What are you talking about?
Will Ferrell.
Oh,
no,
wait, maybe not.
That was after.
He was Groundlings.
It was after his time.
That was after.
Anyway, so a guy who was at UCB is a guy called Dick Masterson. I must say, I think maybe Dick Masterson's got the big balls of the week because, man, did he pull a fast one on everybody, including you, I guess, Vito?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for weeks he had everybody thinking, and I mean everybody believed this, that you were going to be fired from the biggest problem in the universe.
I don't think I was going to. I thought, here's the thing. I knew he wouldn't fire me because he doesn't want to do a podcast over like Zoom, you know?
Yeah. And you're
it's
only
an in-person podcast.
You're saying you're the only guy who would show up in person?
I mean, I guess you could have got Josh Denny. Josh Denny would have showed up. But then it's 2 right-wing guys talking about how much they want Trump to, do another January 6th.
Well, I agree with you, Vito. Jan 6 was maybe one of the worst terrorist attacks.
One of the greatest. There was like 2 9/11s.
Yeah, I mean, I think 1 million Ashley Babbitts died that day. So
did you see that? Did you see that little Asian guy picking up trash?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You're
talking about
powerful.
Nicholas J. Fuentes, I believe. Okay, so yeah, everybody was convinced. Mersh was convinced. Ethan Ralph was convinced. Ethan Van Sciver was convinced. This Josh Denny character you brought up was convinced. All these guys thought you were going to be fired from the show, and they all tried to jump right into your grave and spin around in it. And there's barely any room in that grave for you at this point. Let's be honest. Certainly not Mersh or Ethan Ralph could get in there too. So they all wanted to jump your bones and get your gig. Ethan Ralph said he was going to move to California just to do it. And now he's claiming that this was all a work and he was in on it. And it turns out not only did Dick have, and this is crazy, you guys aren't going to believe this. Not only did Dick have no plan to fire you whatsoever, but he gave you half ownership of the trademark to the biggest problem in the universe.
Wow.
Who could have seen something like this coming? It would be impossible to prognosticate such a thing.
I didn't know it was coming. That was a surprise to me.
Well, Ethan Ralph seems to think that it was like a big bit that you were in on and he was in on, and he was helping push the narrative by pretending that he wanted your spot so bad. So you're saying that's not true?
I did not know. I still thought at the end of the show, he was going to go, and that's it. Like it was all like it was just over.
Because there was a big elaborate theater kid, a scroll was involved, and you were presented, and this is the interesting part. I found this fascinating. Not only did he give you co-ownership of the show, but he gave it to you for the low cost of $1.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating amount of money right there. I mean, what a wild.
Well, that's like what Stephen King would do with his film rights.
Yeah.
You know that story?
Yeah, I do know that story.
He'd go, "You want to make a movie out of my book? You can buy the rights for $1."
It's like Better Call Saul. You know, it's like Saul and
Yeah,
Breaking
you just got to
Bad.
be a token sum.
You just put the dollar.
For some reason, money has to be involved. Does money have to be involved to make it legal?
Yeah, legally. You have to exchange some money. But he was even going to. He even said he was going to give you the dollar and everything. So anyway, I thought this was incredible, and I assume that now that you, I guess, now of course I looked up the trademark. Your name's not on it. I don't know if like a lawyer is going to actually get involved and make this happen.
Yeah, I don't know how that transfers. I think it's more. I mean, for right now, there's a verbal contract that was witnessed by 1,000 people.
I think there's a written one. There's a written contract.
Well, there's also a written contract. That's true.
Did you keep the scroll?
I think we have the scroll at the studio. We're gonna hang it up.
Convenient. So I find it interesting that I don't think you would have come on this program, even though you are always the co-host. Like you're always on every episode.
Right, I'm here every episode.
I'm not so sure you would have showed up for this episode unless you had that because now you can't be kicked from the show, right? You can do anything you want, and there's nothing he can do.
The point is more. Here's the reason that I have half the podcast is that's him saying, if you're not on the podcast, I'm just not going to do it. You know, it's more, the show would never be me getting fired. The show would be him being like, all right, I quit, you know, or I quit.
Right. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Basically, if the show ends, he'd be like, well, I'm not going to do another version of it, you know? So I'd have to just do a different podcast or not do a podcast at all.
I mean, I don't know if I believe that. I heard him say it. I don't know if I believe him when he says that, but I think he probably.
He would just come up with. I think he would just stop. I mean, he's got other pokers in the fire.
Like what?
He's got that back buy site he's working on.
Ooh, I don't know.
He's got his own podcast.
Is the backed by thing work? Because aren't you the only guy on backed by right now?
And there's a couple other people on.
Really?
There.
Okay, because there were some extreme security flaws when that first came. I remember posting about it. We did a whole investigation into it.
Well, it ain't my website, so I don't fucking know.
You don't own half of backed by, right?
No, I do not own half.
Thank God. But
the
anyway,
only business venture in which I am partnered with Dick Master is now the biggest problem in the universe.
So just to be clear, you did not, because I might have taken a guess last week on the program. I introduced a new theory, a new term to the internet called the rift grift. The rift grift. And I said, I don't think that you did. I don't think you were let in on any particular scheme. I assume, and actually we've spoken about this directly to one another. I know that you and Dick don't really sit there and like come up with ideas for the show. You don't like talk to each other. You're not friends, right? You don't like talk to each other on the phone or anything.
So, well, I text, Dick does not like to be on the phone anyway, but, we don't like sit down and plan for the show. You know, it's not like we sit down and go, okay, we're going to do this and then everyone's going to think this and blah, blah, blah. You know, we might have a little conversation. I go over his house probably 30 minutes before the show and I might stick around after the show and be like, hey, let's figure out doing a live show. But I think, I don't know, it seems to be a winning formula to just be like, any discussion we're going to have about the show will occur on the show.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like the audience is part of the drama of fighting over what we're going to do.
Well, my theory last week was that this was something I call the rift grift. And I've seen Keemstar. I've seen a lot of shows doing this, by the way. It's not just your show. It's not just LolCal Live. But I had a feeling, knowing that Dick has been on LolCal Live before, and this thing with Keemstar and Boogie, I'm sure you're somewhat familiar with this, where it
sucks.
It sucks. And every single week on LolCal Live, Keemstar's going, I don't know if Boogie can be the co-host anymore. But if Boogie wasn't the co-host anymore, there's no more show.
Well, I don't know if Boogie is a good actor, if he's just a complete retard. Because, like, I was watching, I don't watch the show, but for some reason it came up in my feed. it was a thing where Boogie's going, I don't think, or Keem was going, I don't think Boogie should get paid for this month.
Right.
Because that's rewarding him for lying about cancer. Like, he should have to give up all the money for this month. And Boogie was like screaming and throwing a fit. And I was like, I can't tell if this guy's just really good at this.
I can tell you, it's fake. Now, here's the thing. Boogie is a lol cow. And he is overreacting. And in that way, it is real. However, he also knows that that's what gets him attention and that that's what makes a show called Lol Cow Live a thing that people want to watch. He's not a retarded person. And like I said last week, he used to play a character on the internet that was a big fat guy who
just
screams.
freaked out all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So he is playing it up.
I think he knows how to scream and shout, but sometimes it is real.
The real Boogie is the Boogie that was at the door when Frank Hassel showed up. Okay, so if you want to know the limits of lol cowdom with Boogie, all of that was real. And then everything that happens on Lol Cow Live is not real. It's fake.
Yeah.
Now, I think that you, in the same way, I think you, Vito, you're a big, fat guy who's the co-host of a show that if you weren't the co-host of it, you just said the show wouldn't happen anymore, right?
Yeah.
And in the same, and I think Dick maybe sees this stuff with Keemstar and Boogie and gets a little jealous, you know? And
you know what? I'll let you have your theory.
No. I would love to hear your argument against it. I've already talked about this. Please.
Well, I think both me and Dick are in agreement that fucking Lol Cow podcast is unlistenable.
Yeah.
And I think, I think there was like some amount of drama where Dick was obviously playing it up. But it was also like some of it where like he said some shit and he said it before where I was like, oh, that's him actually being upset, you know?
Right.
So
there were definitely moments where he lost his cool for real, which we are going to go over in this episode. And then there are moments where, in fact, I think all of these moments were really a reaction to him kind of catching himself, coming out of character, getting actually for real mad at you. And having to catch himself and then spin it into a joke. There's a particular moment from a recent the "Are you threatening me?" moment that I think that was a real moment, and we're gonna watch that in just a bit. This was a crazy moment, but in the end, he said, "No, I couldn't do it without you." It was an emotional moment. I feel like you were probably your glasses started fogging up. You were probably on the verge of whatever the equivalent of tears are for you, waves or something.
For Italians, it's marinara sauce. Just comes pouring out of the face.
I think it was like grease, but
we're a greasy people.
Yeah, and I could tell you were a little choked up. I think you had never seen that side of Dick before.
Well, occasionally, you know, it's like you do a show, and you, as an entertainer, you're not supposed to. Nobody wants to see a clown cry. Although sometimes they do want to see a clown cry, so
yeah, I would disagree with that entirely, actually.
Yeah, but sometimes people like when it gets a little real.
Well, listen, I do believe that a little bit of this law. Listen, if I let me put it like this: if I was in Dick's shoes, you know, his high heels and his hooves. And I wanted to tell you, like, I wanted to do this Lol Cow Live bit and make you my Boogie. You know what I would say to you is I would go, this Lol Cow Live show, this stuff stinks. God damn, that show is shit. I would never do anything like that to you.
Well, I think that, I just think the show would be unwatchable if it became that. And that's that's kind of where a lot of this started is I went, hey, man, I know there's like some people in the comments who want this to be the big, dumb, fat liberal gets dunked on show.
Yeah.
But I also hear from fans who are like, hey, man, the show's getting like unreasonably mean, or it's just like constantly like shitting on everybody.
Well, I think the key here then, whether or not my theory is correct here, which, by the way, I feel like I have now been proven correct, and we're going to go over all that. But I think the real factor that could prove this, for certain is how did it affect the money? Now, I know people started pulling pledges, or at least they claimed they did, or it said They're never going to super chat
Yeah, I thought
again.
the show was over.
Because
I was like,
you were banning people who were super chatting. You were banning longtime patrons and stuff. So what happened?
I banned 2 patrons, and I'll tell you exactly. I remember both of them. One of them, I was like, "Hey, we can't do a show this week because somebody's out of town," and they left a comment, and they're like, Vito, I know you just don't care about the show anymore. Why don't you just fucking quit if you're like going to take a vacation out of nowhere? And meanwhile, it was Dick who was on vacation. It wasn't even me. And I'm like, this fucking asshole. So I said, no, fuck you. And I, what do you call it? I banned that guy.
Right, but how did overall though? This has been.
And another guy, I posted like a heartfelt thing where I'm like, hey, I'm going through a lot or whatever. And then in the Discord, he's like, look at this fucking F slur. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, man.
Well, listen, if the shoe fits. The point is, overall, I mean, I've been watching this thing sort of unfold from the sidelines without actually watching the show whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's unwatchable.
For weeks now. I feel like it's been at least 3 weeks, right? I'm not wrong to say that. 3 weeks?
It's been about, about that.
Okay. In that amount of time, money lost, money gained. Where are we at? Now after this episode where you've been, given half the rights to the program.
Well, what's weird is, so after everybody made a big deal, they're like, oh, Vito's banning super chatters. When the guys I banned were in there super chatting, nobody super chat. Don't leave any super chats for the show. And I was like, you can't super chat. Don't super chat. People are going to see that and then they're going to super chat. And again, like some of them were like longtime guys. I'm like, yeah, I'll obviously unban some of the guys who are like part of the show. Or anybody who says, hey man, I was fucking around. Can I get unbanned? I'd go, yeah, of course. Which is the same way I am on Twitter. If you send me a message, you go, hey man, I was fucking around. Can I get unbanned? Sure. But then Dick made a big deal out of it. I thought he made way too big a deal out of it. I'm like, dude, I banned like 5 people from the beginning of one show. It's not a big deal. But because he did that, all these people, who are all up in arms about getting banned, they're like, oh my God, it's censorship. It's censorship. And I think we went from 87 down to 84. Hundy. So we lost like $300. And then there was some drama with a guy who's a psychopath who threatened to come to my house. And because of that,
you mean Riley?
Oh my God.
You mean Dick's Riley?
I said I said to this guy, listen, cocksucker, if you come to my house, I'm going to call the cops. And everybody said, oh my God, he's threatening to call the cops on a guy. And I'm like, if he comes to the house, if he doesn't come to the house, there's no problem.
I was on your side with this one on the record. I was 100, even though
I don't get why I can't say if a guy comes to my house, I'll call the cops. Oh my stars.
Dick had no problem being against people going to people's houses when I sent my Riley to his house. So.
Well, I guess the argument is that I'm supposed to love this guy because he's had bits on the show, but the honest truth is...
Are you not allowed to mention Riley? I noticed that you are skirting saying Riley. Are you not allowed to say...
I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I just have personal reasons why I don't want to talk about that individual. You know what? And I shouldn't even be talking about the situation. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know nothing about him. All I know is
what. All right, but real quick,
if anybody threatens to come to my house, I will tell them. Okay, well then I'm going to call the cop.
Good, but real quick, not about Riley whatsoever. Okay, let's put. I don't want to respect that.
It's a completely different guy.
I want to completely respect that with you, and let's leave that out of it. But what about his autistic girlfriend, the crazy?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
The face transplant, mutant.
Never heard of any of these people.
Uncanny Valley, disgusting girl with the saggy lumps for tits. Her, you know?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Okay. They made porn, and Riley had a really tiny penis. And not to make this about Riley, but he had a little tiny.
These people are.
You can see it on my Twitter. You can see it on my Twitter if you want to see.
Well, maybe if someone sends me a link, but I probably don't want to see any.
I'll send you a link.
Please don't.
Okay.
I don't want to see any of this.
Okay. It would be funny to like do a review of it though, maybe for your YouTube channel or something. Sort of.
I don't think that's something people
try to
want
jack
me to talk
off
about.
to it, see if you can come to it or that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I'll make a note. All I could say, so we went down to 84, and then we had an episode where there was a lot of uncomfortableness. We almost dropped below 8, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is not good."
Right.
Because the show's
And
been
that's
like...
not, just to be clear to people who don't know the show, I tried to explain this last time. That's not an even split between you and Dick, right? Like you guys, isn't it based on who subs for who's part of the Patreon or something like that?
No, we split it evenly.
You do? Oh, so that whole Vito file, dickhead thing is fake?
No, I mean, it's just a way of like, you choose who you want to support and
then you still split it 50-50? Okay. Seems
well, you gotta imagine
rift grift.
No, because you gotta imagine the guy who's getting the more supporters. He's part of the reason he's getting them is because the co-host is propping him up and feeding him bits and whatever else. It's an equal amount of effort.
Okay. I mean,
not to mention part of the reason they're getting the boost is we both do stuff on the website. I put together clips and whatever. So I'm helping get him supporters. Maybe I put a clip that makes him look great and 5 more people sign up.
I'm not saying you don't deserve it. I'm just saying I thought that's how it worked. Okay, so I was wrong.
I think it would be it would be very complicated to split it up according to the number of supporters.
I was wrong about that last time. I'm willing to concede that part. So in the end, all told, net loss, net gain, where are we at?
Well, the biggest loss, I think we were down 800, 900. And now for reasons here's the thing is this might be all temporary. People might have signed up just to listen to the bonus episode.
Sure.
But we are now up for the month from our lowest point. Our lowest point was 8,068. We're now at 10,767. So that's a change of about $2,600.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rift Grift confirmed. So,
well, I'm not saying we rift grift. I'm saying other people maybe are going to try and capitalize on it.
Well, I certainly will be. If you wanted to, hey, listen, if anybody out there was thinking about signing up to the Patreon to listen to that particular bonus episode, the one part you want to hear is what we've just discussed. And I'll be playing it on this episode for free. So,
the bonus episode. Well, you'll be providing commentary.
I will be transforming it.
You're going to transform the hell out of it.
Here's what I'm going to do. I got it for free because a different guy who is one of your Patreon, he's a Vito file.
Yeah, he sent it to you.
No. He streamed it.
Oh, he posted it.
He streamed it. He streamed it while it was live.
That guy is great. What a great guy.
Somebody messaged him. This is great. We need to actually explore this guy. He's more interesting than this whole podcast war thing. But this guy got a message while he was live just stealing your content. And he wasn't talking over it at all. He was just, every once in a while, he would get a comment in his chat room. By the way, one of the people was Riley. Riley was one of the chatters. And he would just put that up on screen and maybe respond to it. But he was not talking about the stream at all, basically. And one person said, hey, is this the bonus episode? And he's like, yeah, it's live. Don't worry. It's cool. I'm in the Patreon. And I'm like, I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that you're meant to share it because
I don't know how that guy got the idea that he should dual stream our live show.
It's okay because then he said it's all right. It's transformative because he's doing stuff on top of it. The stuff he was doing on top of it is just putting himself in a square above it. So that was nice of him.
Yeah, that's like trying to watch the NFL game live and you go, well, I'm transforming it because I'm reacting to how excited I am about the point they scored.
Exactly. So I'm not stealing it from you. I have too much respect. I have a pizza fund. As much as Dick might not like me having ways of making money, I have too much respect for people's paywalls. So I will not be stealing the content from you guys. I will be stealing your fans' original transformative content where he streamed over top of your content. And I
think that layers upon layers. I can't argue with that.
It's completely different. But all right, listen, the nice thing is finally the Rift Grift is exposed. Clearly
blown out.
Clearly there was a lot of pod awful influence going on through this entire event down to the $1 mark.
You made this happen, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's interesting because I spoke to you directly not that long ago in a bonus and a after show in my paywall, as you recall. And I threw an idea out there to you. And I said, what if I was able to get the rights to the biggest problem? Would you be the co-host of the new biggest problem as well? Now, we don't have to talk about that. I happened to mention the amount I was going to pay for it, all this. It's just a very interesting series of events that's happened here. And this all
And people can only get that if they pay for the pizza fund.
No, I'm going to give it away for free.
No, you're going to give it away
on this episode. I'm going to give it away for free on this episode because I'm just that good. But all of this fell out of my Riley putting an inflatable cow in Dick's truck. And, of course, my Riley was just in here. You just missed him, Vito. The guy that delivered the cow that Dick sawed the head off of. He was just in the Discord here. I wish he was still here with us. But anyway, the point is, I'm very happy for you. I'm glad that you don't have to be, because I can tell you're really, like, Vito's actually upset by these things when people don't like him. It hurts his feelings. And I don't like the idea of Dick, making you his boogie, making you dance to his tune, and you falling for it, and him trying
that's what I kind of, that's what I was trying to avoid, is I felt like the show was heading down, and I don't blame Dick for it, but there's some people in the audience who go, oh, I'm just listening to the Lol Cow podcast. Like, it's just a show where we beat up on this guy. And I was like, yeah, I gotta like put some sort of line in the sand where I go, guys, you gotta be a little more. And also just like, look, I love a good fat joke. I will play along with a good fat joke. But the chatters had devolved into, look at this fat pig. I hope this fat pig chokes on a ham hock and dies. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not joke. That's pretty good. So, I guess there was some good ones still.
I don't get that at all. I don't care. How much do you weigh? I don't care.
I'm under 290 thanks to my beautiful Ozempic.
Wow.
Which is good. I mean, it's not as good. I got to lose another 60 pounds.
What are you, like 4 feet tall? How is that possible?
Why do you think I'm 4 feet? Does everyone think I'm short?
I just thought you were. I just thought you were way, way, way fatter than 290.
I'm 6 foot.
Really?
So.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
congratulations.
I think I'm even a little bit taller than Dick.
Please, yes. You said you're 6 foot, right?
Yeah.
I agree that you're taller than Dick. Yeah.
I might be 6 foot and a half.
No, 6 foot even.
Well, he's getting older. You start to shrink. You know?
Take that stupid hat off, whatever dumb hat you're wearing that week, right down to the scalp, 6 foot even. And Dick is shorter. We've been saying for years that Dick's wearing lifts and stuff, so that actually makes a lot of sense. Because Maddox is 6 feet tall, and Maddox is a little bit taller than Dick as well. Anyway, that opened up a whole new can of worms for our transvestigations. But point is, I'm happy for you because you don't have this, axe swinging over your head just for the rift grift anymore. And I'm happiest for you because as the co-host of Pod Awful, which you have been for so many years now.
You're right.
And you've been such a great co-host to me. And I've loved everything you've done here. And we've been sharing the pizza fund with you 50-50 for so long. Now that you have co-ownership of the show, of the biggest problem in the universe, and now that you cannot be kicked off of it, I think it's high time that you here on Pod Awful say the one thing that you haven't been able to say before, which is that JuJu the cow is real. Vito, take it away. You cannot be fired. Remember that. JuJu the cow.
I don't know. I've never seen any cow thing anywhere. I'm sorry. If it's real,
Vito,
people are good at doing a good job of hiding it.
Vito, this is the fucking shit I'm talking about, Vito.
Furries, man. They don't hide the first.
This is what you do. This is the Sean. This is the stupid.
No furry is a cow. Nobody does a cow. It's always like he'd be like a wolf or something.
Are you threatening me right now? Just say the JuJu thing. Say it right now so we can start the show.
Well, guys, if you want the truth about that situation, the only place to find it is at whatnot.com/invite/Vito comedy. Just for showing up, you're going to get a $15 credit to spend anywhere in the store. We got magic cards. We got Pokemon. Come on by. We're going to be live streaming. I got a bunch of video game consoles.
Vito, you're fired.
Whatnot.com/invite/Vito comedy.
You're fired, okay? This is Pod Awful. Oh my God. What the?